All right, everyone, we're here to talk about the Yeah We Know podcast.
Well, first off, I want to say belts are just changing hands left and right here.
Yeah, we know.
If you came through the WWE and wanted to be a big-time deal, you had to go through The Undertaker for, what, about 20 years, Jimmy?
Yeah, we know.
Jimmy, are they screaming RK Bro, or are they screaming Randy, Randy, Randy?
Yeah, we know.
It's Seth freaking Rollins. Show the man his respect.
The Yeah We Know podcast. Find it in this feed, part of the Morgan Knows Podcasting Network.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls and Brew.
Welcome to the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. I am your host, Rod Morgan. We are here to talk about NFL Week 3, and to do that, I have my merry cast of characters joining me from North Carolina. Chris King. Chris, hello.
What is up, Rod? How you guys doing tonight?
We are excited to talk about Week 3. Joining us from the Indianapolis area, a location to be non-disclosed because all of the fans of the Morgan You Know Podcast Network would rush there because they love his work as the producer on this and every other show we have. It's Jimmy Jamriska.
I've been doxxed multiple times, but I'm still here, Rod.
And we have, of course, our football handicapper, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? Getting ready for Week 3. Let's go.
All right, so Week 3. We're coming into Week 3 with the record as what, Mr. Williams? Tout your record to the people.
Yeah, went 3-0 last week. We went against Nathaniel Hackett. That's proven to be a good thing. And we're 6-0 headed into Week 3. Let's go.
I love that you are the humble superstar on this podcast because I have enough braggadocious for all of us. But that's right, folks. Our handicapper who picks games for you is 6-0 through 2 weeks. You may want to get on board. But we always like to look back at Week 2 a little bit before we get with our normal business of Week 3. Let's start with the grade for the Tom Cruise game of the week. We went off the board and went with the Thursday game last week because it was supposed to be the big headliner. It was KC. It was San Diego, formerly now LA Chargers. It was Herbert. It was Mahomes. And it was kind of a dud-ish, I guess, is what I would say. It was dud-ish. It was fine. It was okay. Ended up being a semi-close game. You're not going to complain about it, but you're also not going to freak out about it. So last week's Tom Cruise game of the week gets graded with War of the Worlds. All right? You were anticipating War of the Worlds. It was Tom Cruise. It was Steven Spielberg. It was a remake. It was based on a classic story. All the above. Fine special effects. Aliens. You're okay with it, but it's not great. You're going to watch 12 to 13 other Tom Cruise movies before you're going to even think about getting to War of the Worlds, and that's how I'm going to grade out last week's Tom Cruise game of the week. Jimmy, do you agree with my grade, or do you think I'm being a little harsh on that game?
No, I think it was perfect. It wasn't the barn burner that we thought it was going to be. Much like War of the Worlds, that came out with a lot of hype, and you watch it and you were said, it was fine. I'm going to move on to other things in my life. But I think that's a perfect analogy there, bud. Good job.
Thank you. I'm excited about this Tom Cruise gimmick of the week. And Mr. Williams, if we had to pick out the blockbuster game of last week, it was probably going to end up being that Ravens and Dolphins game, no?
Yeah, probably. And one note with that KC Chargers game, one of the best throws I've ever seen in my life. No hyperbole. The one that Herbert threw after he gets nailed in the ribs, that was an absolute laser down the field. I don't know how he completed that. If you haven't seen that, go back and check that out. Seriously, one of the best throws I've ever seen in my life from a quarterback. But yeah, Miami and Baltimore, I probably got fortunate there. I mean, Baltimore's cruising. They decided to go for it on 4th and 1, which they're an aggressive team. Miami holds them, and then all hell breaks loose. And we said this going into the season, man. Especially in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, Miami's wide receivers are going to wear down these cornerbacks, and we've seen it. We've seen it in Baltimore on Sunday, and the Ravens were without their second, third, and fourth corners, and Miami just feasted. Probably got fortunate with the cover there, and then Miami pulls out the miraculous win. We'll take it. Had a lot of bad luck last year, so yeah. Miami-Baltimore, probably the game of the week.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think there's something else in that Miami-Baltimore game that you wanted us to make sure we cover this week. I'm pretty excited here.
Yes, we have, of course, going with the Yeah We Know podcast, we have a face and a heel. The face of the week has got to be Tua. Tua out of nowhere, 469 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, had a couple INTs. That's fine. 124.1 QB rating. You said it right. Waddle and Hill are amazing, and they're letting Tua cook a little bit there, Rod. I think this might be the start of something beautiful. Yeah, they play Buffalo soon, but hey, let's live in the moment. He's the face of the week.
I was not incredibly excited to be stuck, I thought, with Tua in our fantasy auction draft there, Mr. Jamriska, and so I was not playing Tua last week when he scored all those fantasy points. Oh, and real quick as well, guess who else I wasn't playing last week? Was Waddle, the receiver. So I left 76 fantasy points on my bench last week, but silver lining, I still somehow won.
That just shows the level of competition in our fantasy league, I think.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what it does there. So, Chris, but that was a dynamite game, and I know that leads into one thing that you know for sure. So, give us your take.
One thing I know for sure, Rod, is no lead is safe in the NFL. You saw it with the Dolphins coming back and just exploding for 28 points in that fourth quarter to come back and win. You saw the Jets with some craziness against the Browns come back and win that game. You saw Atlanta try to make a comeback against the Rams and make it interesting. It's every week. And not to mention the Cardinals coming back to beat the Raiders. Every week now we have people coming back from 17, 21 points down to sneak out a win. It is insane how much these offenses are just pushing on the gas in this fourth quarter, and how many defenses just seem to forget how to play defense. I don't know how the Browns allowed that Wilson kid to get that wide open that late in the game for a quick one-play touchdown. It's just insane to me. One thing I know, no lead is safe.
Mr. Williams, let me come to you on this. I understand there's going to be lots of different factors every time if we're kind of making out a blame pie, to borrow a phrase that I know that's out there in the ether a little bit, right? There's going to be lots of different pieces within that pie as to a reason a comeback happens. But what would you say the biggest piece usually is? Is it offenses out scheme? Is it defensive coordinators get non-aggressive, or is it just overall tiredness on one side or the other? Which one would you say gets the biggest piece of blame pie in a comeback situation?
Coaches' ineptitude, usually. The game clock management. We've seen these coaches just being terrible. Nick Chubb probably should have went down at the one. I mean, that's tough. I mean, you're going up by 13, under 2 minutes to go, and then there's just constant breakdown in coverage, and the guy who got beat didn't even chase after him. I mean, and the Jets don't have any timeouts left, and then they get the onside kick, and then they go right down the field and score. Just atrocious coaching here lately by a lot of teams.
Joe Flacco looking like the Joe Flacco that's been mentioned actually a little bit in this offseason as it relates back to the Baltimore Ravens, because that's Lamar is literally in the same situation that Flacco was the year that he bet on himself, played lights out, won the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco harkening back to those days there for a big win out of the Jets. I definitely did not see that one coming. Mr. Williams, did you know that the Jets were going to win that game? Because you seem to be 6-0 this year.
I didn't, but what's crazy about that is that the Browns do it again, man. I mean, teams that were down by 13 points with under 2 minutes to go had lost 2,229 consecutive games since the Browns did it last to the Bears. They lost to the Bears back in 2001. That's unbelievable that the Browns have now done it the previous two times. Up by 13, under 2 minutes to go, and lose. Only the Browns.
You want to know what is absolutely even more unbelievable is we always record these on Thursday night, and so I was watching a little bit of this Thursday night telecast. Herb Street throws out something to Al Michaels about how crazy it was that the Browns lost that game last week. He's like, Al, you've been broadcasting for a lot of years. You probably have never seen a game that crazy. Al does not miss a beat, Mr. Williams, and immediately references the games that you just talked about, man. Al Michaels somehow still hitting 100 miles an hour at his age.
Nice. And going back to that Miami-Baltimore game, teams won 711 straight games up by 21 or more in the fourth quarter, and the Ravens blew that against the Dolphins this last weekend. So it's been a wild start to this NFL season.
All right, Jimmy, you gave us your face of the week. Let's go ahead and we got to get your heel because that wraps up the week. But I have a feeling that I don't necessarily want to talk very much about your heel right now. But I don't know. You're surprising me. You haven't told me who your heel is.
And it's an embarrassment, honestly, for the entire city of Indianapolis, for the organization, for the players. You cannot go into Jacksonville again, and play like that. Your heel of the week, going back to coaching, Frank Reich, heel of the week. You've got to have your team better prepared than that. I don't know what's going on, other than nothing right now in Indianapolis, Rod.
Listen, if I was still living down in the wonderful Circle City there, shout out to the Castleton region, which is where the Mrs. Morganino and I laid our head for a few years there before we moved back up here, I would be trying to stake out space for Fire Reich billboards. I would be rallying people at bars. I would get a movement going in the streets because Jim Irsay became a folk hero with me when he walked down into the locker room at the end of the Jaguars game at the end of last year and said, that guy will never quarterback for me again. And you know what he should do pretty soon is walk down into that same locker room and look the same guy, but a different guy, Frank Reich, in the eye and say, you, sir, will never coach for me again, and frog march him right out of the building. Because you have two different quarterbacks, Jimmy, get blown out by this Jaguars team in Jacksonville, but one common denominator, and you hit it right on the head, my friend. The heel of the week, Frank Reich. Not long for Indianapolis. Get your money in Vegas on first coach fired. It's going to be Frank Reich. It better be Frank Reich. Get Gardner Minshew from the Eagles. Do something, Colts. This ain't happening. Do something.
You have so much Gardner Minshew stock, it's not even funny, and I love it. But here's the thing. Yes, the Jaguars are good. Lawrence was, I think, 11 of 13 at one point, and the two drop passes were literally drop pass hit a guy in the chest and it hit the ground, and then the second one went through the receiver's arms on a beautiful throw. So they were hot, but you can't come out and score no points. Williams.
No, wait a minute. We're not going to Williams yet. We're not going to Williams yet. I'm gonna reverse pat myself on the back here, Jim, as only I can. All right. I also gave everybody the Jacksonville Jaguars at the beginning of the year. I said the Jags were gonna be hot. Watch out for this Jags team. I was trying to do some reverse double backdoor voodoo stuff that clearly is not working, but I also gave people the Jags. So while I was enjoying myself at Bourbon and Beyond, a fabulous concert in Kentucky, I did not have to witness any of that Colts garbage. But the minute that I saw the score, I went to Facebook and I said, I'm good on the Frank Reich era in Indianapolis. Let's move on. Williams, you can now retort with whatever real research you have.
Wait, are we starting in on the week one picks, or are we going to hold on that? Because I can hold.
The week one picks, what do you mean by that?
Wow, week three picks. Williams, are you?
Yeah, week three picks.
Are you picking the Colts-Chiefs game, dude?
I'm breaking that game down, so I just wanted to... We can
All right,
hold
well, fine.
off.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Off.
Let's do that. In the effort of continuing to move things. Actually, no, wait a minute. Let's go back to Chris. He's got one more thing that I know is kind of more NFL news-ish, and then we'll get into week three. Chris, give us one more of your things, and then we're going to move on to more of this Colts discussion. But I need a second to simmer down, so this will be good.
One thing I know, the NFL has no sense of logic or comprehension when it comes to them doling out punishments to players. We have seen some crazy type suspensions in the past, whether you're talking about Josh Gordon or the guy that was betting on fantasy games or things of that nature. And then you have situations where Mike Evans gets a one-game suspension for a fight on the field with Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. And then they turn around and they give 4 games to Willie Gay from the Chiefs, 4-game suspension for destroying his son's mom's vacuum cleaner. It is insane to me how they decide what these games are or how long these suspensions are for how many games. You have a guy who sexually assaults over 24 women. At first, he only gets 6, then he gets 11, but you're going to give a guy 4 for destroying a vacuum? It makes no sense. It's one of the worst things about the NFL, and we love the NFL, but my God, get some consistency and some logic in their decision-making.
Suspension of professional athletes is always a tricky situation, right? Like there's always going to be multiple camps. I'm completely with you that multiple of those situations should have been either far less or no suspension at all or more games, but it's always a tricky situation. We've seen the NBA mishandle suspensions. Major League Baseball's mishandled it. It's always a tricky business, and the NFL even outsourced it and still got it wrong. So proving how tricky it can be. But yes, let's move off of week 2, go on to week 3. As we mentioned, Williams is hot, 6-0. He picks 3 games for us. We got one more thing that Chris knows, and then I got to give you the Tom Cruise game of the week. Gentlemen, let's proceed.
All right, you want me to start with Colts and Chiefs?
Yeah, we should probably start there since we gave everybody a good little aperitif there a minute ago. So give us your logic and reason, because I'm fairly certain here that you're on the other side. You think I'm crazy for calling for Frank's Reich head, correct?
I mean, I get the frustration, but yeah, I'm taking the Colts here plus 5.5. This is a kitchen sink game for the Colts, and this is their home opener. They have to have this game, and there's going to be a ton of trends here that favor the Colts. I'll try to rattle these off here. Winless home teams facing a team with at least one win. 31-19-2 against the spread. That's 62%. Underdogs coming off a game in which they were shut out going up against a favorite, as long as that favorite isn't coming off a bye. 41-21-3 against the spread. That's 66%. Teams that started out 0-2 straight up and against the spread are 45-28 against the spread in week 3. That's 62%. Get this. We all think Andy Reid's awesome off a bye. He's kind of getting a mini bye here. You would think to back the Chiefs. No, Andy Reid is only 5-7 against the spread on 10 days rest. That stat doesn't make any sense. I don't care. That's what I'm going with it. It's true. The Colts under Frank Reich catching more than a field goal are 9-3-1 against the spread, 75%. Teams off a shutout loss as a 3-point underdog in non-division games are 51-14-3. That's 78% since 1990. You don't overreact after 2 weeks. Home dogs catching 7+ points coming home in week 3 after an 0-2 start. 4-0 against the spread. All 4 teams should have won outright. And the big thing here is that multiple books have the Chiefs as the largest single-game NFL liability through the first 3 weeks, while the line has moved from -7 to -5.5. What does that tell you? This is a very public selection in KC. You know what that means? I'm going against Joe Public. I'm going against all the Colts fans that want to jump off the ledge here. This is a kitchen sink game for the Colts. Home opener, Colts cover 5.5.
Wow, Chris, I'm not. Chris, you're a Colts fan. Your thoughts? I chewed up a lot there last segment. Your thoughts?
It's tough. I really don't see the Chiefs losing this or not winning this game by less than a touchdown. It's the Colts really made that Jacksonville defense that's filled with rookies and second-year players look all-world last year. Ryan got sacked like, 3 or 4 times, got hit 11 more. The offensive line, which used to be our strength, did not look like our strength last week. And without giving Matt Ryan some time, I don't know how we're going to put points on the board.
Yeah, that offensive line is really what's cracking me a little bit. I don't understand how those guys went from one of the best units in the league to a subpar unit. I know we've had some injuries and a little bit of attrition of guys, but my goodness, if you're not going to be able to get Jonathan Taylor open running lanes, I don't know what in the world Frank Reich has in his bag of tricks, because he doesn't have a bag of tricks. It's non-existent. He tries to call upon them all the time, and it never works. He makes these decisions as if we are a really, really good football team, and it's like, hey, Frank, bud, check out the score sheet. Check out your record right now, man. Maybe you want to punt here. Maybe you want to kick the field goal here, bud. Things aren't working out great for you. You just got stomped 24-0 by the lowly Jaguars. Yes, Mr. Williams.
Hey, don't forget, one of the big covers for the Colts in the last couple of years was an outright upset of the Chiefs in Arrowhead. And don't forget, the Colts went into Buffalo last year as a huge dog. They were 5-5. You said there's no way they're going to beat Buffalo. What did I tell you? I said, relax, they're going to be fine. They went into Buffalo, a team that is better than this Chiefs team. They whooped them 41-15. Why are we crowning the Chiefs? The Chiefs played Zona with all their backups. I don't even count that as a game. And then Mahomes last week should have thrown 2 picks that were dropped. He threw 2 more picks that were called back by a terrible pass interference calls. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, so the cover 2 defense that's going to be played by the Colts, it won't be the cover 3 usually. It won't be a liability because they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. I'm telling you, you guys need to get off the ledge here. The Colts will be fine. The Colts could be in first place in 3 weeks here because they get Tennessee after this game if they pull out the outright W, which I think is a very good chance they will on Sunday.
Yeah, they're not going to go winless through 5 games because they'll be able to beat Tennessee next week. But I'm not crowning the Chiefs anything here, even though I did in the preseason. And I think that you could maybe use the same argument in Kansas City and say, hey, they're probably going to be fine the same way you're saying about the Colts. But I understand what you're saying there. I just think, Jimmy, I'm betting more against the Colts than I'm betting on the Chiefs here.
I have to see something positive out of this team, Rod. 0 points. Rushing, Taylor, 9 for 54 last game. They only had 13 total rushing attempts. Obviously, they were playing from behind, but Ryan wasn't doing it. He had 3 interceptions. You know Ryan's going to throw 1. That's happening. So I don't understand where you're getting these points to beat a team. You have to score to win the game. I don't see that happening again because the Colts haven't found themselves yet.
All right, well, this is where Williams proves that he's the handicapper and he likes to paint me. I'm just the agitated fan, which is fine. I'm definitely the agitated fan, and I will wear that hat every day and twice on Sundays and sometimes 3 times on Sunday, maybe if the Colts are in the night game. Let's move on to another pick from Mr. Williams. Who you got in your second game this week?
All right, you could have guessed this. This is Atlanta versus Seattle. I'm taking Atlanta +1. This is classic case of wrong team is favored here, man. I do not get this. The Falcons, their offensive scheme has looked a whole lot better in the preseason and through the first 2 weeks of the season than it did all of last year. They are staying out on the West Coast. Remember, they gave the Rams all they could handle last week in LA. I was hoping that they would stay out on the West Coast. Don't change time zones. There's proven track records where that should be the play. Thank God Arthur Smith did that. They're staying out there. I like that. Plus, you've got Mariota coming back to the Pacific Northwest where he played so well in college, so there could be some good vibes happening there. And versus this Seattle D, not only is it a step back in weight class overall, but a move from 2 of the best defenses to now the worst in the league. And the Seahawks don't have Jamal Adams. The Falcons have 2 corners that can limit DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to a degree. And this Seahawks team got bailed out by 2 fumbles at the 1-yard line and boneheaded decisions by a first-time head coach in Hack in week 1. And their 1 touchdown scored last week was a blocked field goal return. So Seattle, from a roster standpoint, is the worst in the league, in my opinion. Denver destroyed this team in the box score. And since 2010, teams that are 0-2 playing non-0-2 teams, which we have here in week 3, are 45, 29-2 against the spread. That's a nice 61% clip for an 0-2 team getting points here. I know Seattle's a tough place to play. They've had their Super Bowl already. They beat Russ. A fluke win. If you look at the box score, Denver should have won that game by about 2 touchdowns. This Seattle team is not good. Give me Atlanta all day +1 here.
All right, Mr. Williams, I'm going to throw something at you that you weren't expecting, but it relates to that game. I like that you're talking up the Falcons a little bit there. I have Marcus Mariota on my fantasy team. Let me ask you, Mariota versus this bad Seattle team, or Tua coming off his insanely hot week, but taking on this pretty good Bills team? Who would you rather play in fantasy this week?
I mean, this is why you love Superflex, man. I have Tua on my Superflex league. I started him last week. Rolling. But if you have to choose here, I like Tua in this game. The Dolphins are number 1 in pass rate over expectation through a couple weeks, and they have the 7th highest pass rate through the first 3 quarters. They get the number 1 motion rate, the number 1 early down play action rate. This is what good coaches do. This is what we talked about going into the year. And Mike McDaniel has done this. He's put all the weapons in Tua's lap. Tua is now number 2 in EPA per pass attempt. That's actually a better stat for him than Josh Allen. He's got the 6th highest completed air yards. This is going to be a high-scoring game. And remember, Miami is making the Bills wear their dark blue jerseys on Sunday. They're on the other side of the stadium where the sun is beating down on them. It's supposed to be 87 degrees, 84% humidity. We said it before. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, they're going to wear this Buffalo secondary out. We saw that Micah Hyde and Dane Jackson both went to the hospital on Monday night, the corners, the defensive backs for Buffalo. and Tre'Davious White, their best corner, is still out for this game. This is going to be a high-scoring game because Miami, I don't think, can stop Buffalo either. This is going to be a super exciting game. Start Tua, even though I do like Mariota also, but I think Tua has the higher upside. That Miami-Buffalo game, get your popcorn ready. That's going to be an awesome game.
Nice. Yeah, you'd think that would be the Tom Cruise game of the week, but it actually isn't. So get ready for what I am bringing at you for the Tom Cruise game of the week, if that is not it. Chris, we had a little bit of talk in there about some 0-2 teams. The Colts may go 0-2. It feels like they're 0-2 off of the tie. I know one more thing you had was about another team that's surprisingly 0-2, and that's the defending Super Bowl champions.
No, it's about the Cincinnati Bengals, not the Rams. The Bengals.
Oh, yeah, the defending Super Bowl runners-up. Excuse me. The runners-up is what I meant to say.
So the biggest issue with Cincinnati last year, and what a lot of people thought was their biggest weakness, was their offensive line. Joey Burr got sacked a bunch last year. So what did the great minds of Cincinnati and Mike Brown and Duke Tobin go do? They went out and spent $74 million to rebuild that offensive line. Give Joey Burr some type of time to throw and find open receivers. And he is on pace to get sacked over 100 times this year. He's already been sacked 13 times through the first 2 games. 7 by my Dallas Cowboys. Made my Dallas Cowboys look like the best defensive line and edge rushers that's ever been in the NFL. I watched every play of that game, and I don't think that Joe Burrow had more than 2.5 seconds max on any given play to throw the ball. You can't get receivers open that quick, that often. He's dodging and running for his life because that offensive line stinks. So I know Mike Brown and Duke Tobin don't know how to build an offensive line.
You know what else I know? I think I know that you need to put a new battery in your smoke detector.
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great, Chris.
That I hear going off in the background?
Yeah, it literally started at 9:45.
There we go. It's always something
Really
with you.
appreciate that. Thanks,
clap.
Chris. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Jimmy, I know, brother. We're almost done here. We just got a couple more minutes. Mr. Williams, you got one more pick for us. And Chris, we'll be going out on a high note here because we're talking about your other favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. Williams, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going to pleasantly surprise Chris here. I'm going to take Dallas +1. I know. I'm going with McCarthy over Dayball. I want to throw up. But that's the only advantage I see the Giants having over Dallas here. Look, we like to take, we've joked about this on the pod plenty of times. We like to take Danny Dimes when he's on the road and
we do.
And when he's a dog and when he's not pressured. That's why I like the Giants in week 1 versus Tennessee when they were on the road as dogs and Harold Landry was out for Tennessee, their best defensive edge rusher. Tennessee wasn't going to get pressured. That's why I like the Giants in that game. The Giants barely squeaked by in that game. Now we fast forward to Monday night. What do we get? We get Danny Dimes at home as a favorite versus pressure, versus maybe the most pressure he's going to see all year in Micah Parsons on the defensive line. Also, the level of competition that these two teams have played are vastly different. The Giants have beat up on a horrible Titans team and I'm going to say a bottom 5 Panthers team that's sneakily really bad. If you guys haven't noticed, If you guys haven't noticed, the Panthers have lost their last 9 games. They haven't covered in any of those. So Carolina's sneaky bad right now. Meanwhile, the Giants, they went up against a good Tampa team, and they went up against or the Cowboys. They went up against a good Tampa team, and they went up against what could be a good Cincinnati team. So for that reason, I think the pressure is going to get to Dimes here. I liked what I saw with Cooper Rush. We said it last week. Cooper Rush wasn't terrible last year when he filled in for Dak. Came into Minnesota, threw for over 320 yards and 2 touchdowns when they beat Minnesota. And last week he showed that he was capable in beating Cincinnati. So I like Dallas here getting the point. There's been some sharp movement on Dallas. Let's take the road dogs here. Atlanta +1 and Dallas +1. I like them both this week.
Who needs Dak Prescott, right, Chris?
Dallas needs Dak Prescott. But what's really funny is, since Williams brought up Carolina, you want to talk about billboards for Wright's job. It is tenfold of that here for Rule's job. They want him gone like yesterday, and it is everywhere.
Oh, you know what? I love hearing this. I love hearing this Carolina stuff. Jimmy, you got anything on Williams' last game there, Giants or Cowboys? Because I'm sneaky in on the Giants. That's one of my futures bets this year.
See, you can't be in on Danny Dimes right now. That's the thing. They're kind of winning despite him, not because of him. And it is going to catch up. And Dallas does have a couple of pretty big stars on their defense, including somebody who's on my team. So I think this is probably a good bet, but of course it's me and it's betting. So I'll go with Williams on this one.
Yeah, he's going to say, we've touted it one more time. Let me do it again. He is 6-0 right now, folks. So probably should listen to him and not to me. But one thing you should listen to me on is actually wait. Williams has another good nuggets for us. What do you got, buddy?
Oh, man, I'm just letting you guys know that I know when you watch football, you usually watch the ball. But in that Dallas Giants game, watch the Dallas defensive line. I got to give props to Chris here. Micah Parsons is absolutely playing out of his gourd right now. It's so fun to watch. They're doing all kinds of stunts. They react to what he's doing. The other three guys on the defensive line. It's, as a football nerd, it's fantastic to watch. I know I poo-pooed the Dallas interceptions this year. I still don't think they get there, but this Dallas defensive line led by Micah Parsons is the real deal. They're going to keep them in playoff contention for the whole year if they keep playing like this.
All right, we have Williams' 3 picks
and they're
on the
not
board.
afraid.
Jimmy gave us his heel. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say they move Micah around all over that line of scrimmage too. They will play him inside, outside, off the ball, on the line. They use him probably better than just about anybody uses any other defensive lineman there is.
Yeah, and you gave everybody a preview on that when you said that he might win DPOY. That's one we definitely got to give some credit for on that. We got Chris's 3 things on the board. Williams gave us his 3 games. Jimmy gave us his face and heel of the week, and he could not be more correct about heel of the week, Frank Reich. This is an anti-Frank Reich podcast moving forward. Mr. Williams has all the stats, figures, and good record to back his stuff up. I have years and years of Colts fandom and burning anger to back up my points. You decide which side you'd rather be on, folks. All right. But last week for my game of the week, I gave you the San Diego KC game. Didn't work out as great for me as I would have liked. We talked about that at the beginning of the podcast. This week, I am giving you Minnesota versus, no, I'm not. I really did think about giving Minnesota versus Detroit because I have a sneaky feeling that that's going to be a wild game. Minnesota coming off looking absolutely terrible in prime time like Captain Kirk always does. Detroit's always involved in wild games. I thought about that, but then I was like, man, that's Cousins versus Goff. I can do better in a quarterback matchup for the Tom Cruise game of the week. What's better than Baker v. Jameis, baby? Panthers Saints is the Tom Cruise game of the week, and what I'm thinking this one's going to be is a little bit night and day. Remember the Cameron Diaz Tom Cruise movie? Nobody really thought anything of it, and it kind of snuck up on you, and you're like, hey man, this is a pretty good movie. I actually enjoyed myself for the 2 hours that I sat here and watched this. There was a lot of cool stunts. People were blowing up. Cameron Diaz was running around in a bikini. Who's going to complain about that? It ended up being decently entertaining. So I believe Baker, who's always involved in crazy games, and Jameis, who's always involved in crazy games, New Orleans, Carolina. Chris just told you that Matt Rule's on the hot seat, so he's going to be throwing the kitchen sink out there. Baker wants to turn this thing around. That's going to be the Tom Cruise game of the week. Jimmy, your thoughts?
I like it. I think that's another really solid call by you, and we'll see what happens. Very underrated movie for sure. So good luck to you, and good luck to the game of the week.
There we go. Mr. Williams, were you getting nervous when you thought I was going to give Lions v. Vikings as a Tom Cruise game of the week?
Man, I thought I was contrarian on this podcast. Holy cow. I mean, you could have went Buffalo, Miami. That game was going to be awesome. I love Minnesota, Detroit. I think that game is going to soar over. That game has all kinds of fireworks written over it. You went with Carolina, New Orleans.
It's going to be a crazy wild game. Listen, I made this thing up. I made up the Tom Cruise game of the week. There's no. You can't check me against any analytics. I made
you got to go
up
with the movie, William. It's the movie. Tying into the movie. That's the thing, bud. You got to tie it into the movie.
I'll leave you with this. The Panthers under Matt Rule are 1-25 when they allow 17 points or more. Good Lord. If you think Frank Reich is bad, Matt Rule says, hold my case of beer here.
Hey-o. All right, listen, that means the other team's going to score a lot of points. Entertaining. That's what I'm saying to you, Mr. Williams. The Tom Cruise Game of the Week is all about entertainment factor and just a little more honor to our guy, the man who saved cinema this year, 2022, Tom Cruise. Shout out to Top Gun Maverick on digital if you somehow have not seen it yet. Goodness gracious, watch that. All right, but this is a football podcast. We wrapped up week 3 here. We'll be back next week in the same time, doing the same thing, but with different games. But, Jimmy, there's also something special coming up for the folks out there who might also be sports entertainment fans as well as just sports fans.
The 100th episode, part 2 of the Yeah We Know podcast, and we are going to have a stable draft. Look on all our social media accounts. I've asked some questions for some people, gotten some great feedback. Who would be your stable that you would pick? Now, one thing we have to make perfectly clear. All our fans that are putting all these stables together, they're great. I love them. Some are funny. Some are more realistic. They get to choose from anyone. We're drafting, Rod. You, myself, and 2 others are going to be drafting. Well, Chris is going to be involved, and then one special guest as well. We're going to draft. So I might take a freaking awesome person, and you may not be able to take that person.
Oh, there's definitely going to be a time where I yell at you numerous times during this podcast. People should absolutely tune in. You and I have a great rapport, but when we get to drafting and getting competitive, Jimmy, it gets ugly. I mean, need I bring back times in 5th grade where we wouldn't trade each other baseball cards? I mean, it's going to be something similar to that.
It's going to be nasty, but then we're always going to be able to laugh at Chris for picking a non-wrestler for his main eventer. So I can't wait for that one.
King Kong Bundy.
You guys really handcuffed me too by sticking it from 1983
by 1983 to present.
There's a lot of time. So there's a lot of time that I don't get to pick from. A lot of my favorite wrestlers
That is
off
true.
the board.
It is the Morganino Podcast Network. I had to give myself the advantage, all right? But that's all other things that you can find here in this very feed. Thank you so very much for checking this one out. Check out some of our other wares sometimes. We promise we try to bring the entertainment. We try to have the fun. That's what this is all about. Chris, I believe the final word always goes to you.
Goodbye, Internet.